wanted to start today by taking a look, as I said, at Nico Iamaleava, gone, Joey Agalar, in. I know, just save the emails. I know we're going to get them that nobody says it can't be Jake Merklinger. Yeah, that's correct. There will be a competition. Everyone I've talked to thinks that it's going to be a competition with Agalar in the lead. So I think he's going to have to do some bad work to lose the gig, but we'll see. I'm all for a straight-up competition, but I know you also paid this guy to come in from California. You didn't do that for no reason. So for today, we're looking at Iamaleava and Agalar. Doesn't mean he'll be the starter in the fall. Got it. No need to email me. Here's the question. When we look at Pro Football Focus numbers and compare some of these things, was he asked to do what Nico was asked to do? How does he differ from Nico? Where are they the same? Let's take a look. We got 3 different charts here I want to show you. Let's put up the first one. This takes a look at both guys when they are pressured and their average time to throw. All right, so Nico had 2.56. We all know he was under some duress last year. Didn't have some great tackle play last year. Joey Agalar had even less time to throw at App State. Now, Nico and the offensive line here were going against SEC competition. So it says something that App State did that against Sun Belt competition. He did not have a lot of time. Now, you look at their percentage completions in a clean pocket, Nico was better, 71% to 66%. The one thing we don't know, how many of these balls were dropped. Tennessee had a lot of drops last year. I'm assuming App State did as well. Under pressure, obviously it's the flip side of the other one, but when they are pressured, Nico completed more passes than Agalar did. Not blitzed, okay? Meaning when he was not blitzed by the opponent's defense. That came out funny. All right. So when not blitzed, Nico 67% completions, Agalar 62%. So when you pressure him, Aguilar's a little worse. When you blitz him, he's a little worse than Nico was. Clean pocket TD to interception ratio. 18 TDs to 3 interceptions for Nico. 19 to 9 with a clean pocket. It's not, he's running for his life. No, he had 9 interceptions with a clean pocket.
6 to 1, 3 to 1.
Yeah, and then under pressure, TD interception ratio 1 to 2. I mean, Nico didn't throw many interceptions, but he also, under pressure, he threw 1 touchdown pass all year. Agalar threw 4 touchdown passes, but 5 more interceptions. Okay, we'll come back to us and respond. Anything stand out to you there?
Nico being risk-averse. That's something that we saw with the eye test, and I think those numbers back that up. And then also Agalar with the clean pocket. He has trust in his arm, and he's kind of a gunslinger, and that's the way he's been described by analysts that have called his games. He just kind of lets it loose and has belief that he can make all the throws, so those numbers really show that.
Okay.
Dangerous Joey Aguilar. That's what he does. He holds on to the football to the last second. Blitz is coming. He'll eat somebody in the face mask, and if he sees somebody, sometimes a linebacker steps in front of a pass. Other times, they're breaking a tackle going 40 yards the other way for a touchdown. You're seeing it inside the numbers, even whenever he has somebody, even if he doesn't have the check down. Joey Aguilar is going to take some licks, but he's going to make sure that the ball gets put in the air and you've got a 50-50 shot. The gunslinger, dangerous mentality, that's what he's known for from his Sun Belt days at App State.
A lot of it, too, though, is he doesn't have a ton of arm strength, and especially on those outside throws. And if you go back and watch his games, he will throw some of those Garantano Kentucky throws. He throws some of those. You know what I mean? Like he does. There are times, watch Georgia State game was one where he throws an interception that, again, Jeremy Pruitt would have been proud of. Like his arm is not incredibly strong, but he gets the ball out very quickly. He trusts his arm at times, and maybe he shouldn't. Some of the routes where he threw picks, though, Heupel doesn't do that. So I don't think you have to worry about it as much here.
I really worry about the number of clean pocket interceptions because you can read several different things into that. Yeah, he trusts his arms, and he's going into the top window, or does he know what he's looking at? So that number, of all the numbers that you've thrown out, that's the one that jumps out to me, is clean pocket interceptions. That is not a good number.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I've talked to analysts that have called his games. They say he has a strong arm. He doesn't have a Joe Milton arm. Maybe he doesn't have the Nico arm talent, but he still has an arm, they've said, to make all the throws. So if he's throwing it to the other team, it might be more what Bob was talking about, not knowing what he's seeing.
Well, we've got a stat coming up, not yet, but we've got a stat coming up where we'll talk about depth of target. And we'll discuss. I mean, you can look at different NFL quarterbacks and see that.
Sure.
You can make those deep. I mean, Peyton Manning's arm was never the strongest in the league. You saw some wobble to the spiral.
Drew Brees.
Completed, that's right. Completed a whole. They're both in the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
So you can it's strong enough. You know, you don't want to be Danny Werfel, where unless your receiver's got 5 yards of clear space around him, it's going to be picked. So it's a difference between strong and strong enough. One thing you mentioned, risk-averse. Risk-averse is another man's take care of the football. Right. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. So we're going to find out with Joey in this offense because we've pointed out Josh Heupel has never had a quarterback in his history throw for double-digit interceptions. I think the system is going to protect Aguilar a little bit. How much, I don't know.
Do you remember those plays, Joe Milton against Ole Miss, when everybody was throwing stuff on the football field? What did he do? He ran out of bounds and didn't put the ball in the end zone. Nico against Arkansas last year ran out of bounds, didn't put it in the end zone. I can guarantee you, Joey Aguilar, there will never be an opportunity he doesn't leave it out on the field. What I mean is, I'm about to get hit, jump ball, somebody go get it. That's dangerous, Joey.
Well, if he does, though, that becomes kind of a Tennessee tradition, isn't it?
That's right. Let's take a look at the next chart. All right, this is past concepts, and granted, these are pretty simple concepts. All this information, by the way, from Pro Football Focus. I didn't sit there and grade all the film myself. Play action percentage. Nico Iamaleava last year when he was play action, 57% completion. Joey Agalar, 36% completion. All right, when it's no play action, 42% completion percentage for Nico. Interesting, he needed the play action. Joey did not. Better when it wasn't play action. Screens. 15% of the time. Now, I'm sorry. This isn't the completion percentage. That's the percentage of plays they ran with them, not the completion percentage. Okay. 57% were Nico Iamaleava, 42%. Down there at screen percentage, only 15% screens last year for Nico. Only 8% for Joey Aguilar. Not a lot. 91% of the time they weren't running a screen at App State. Okay. Play action TD interception rate. This shows their success rate. When it was play action, 16-3, 13-4, both good. When it wasn't play action, 3-2, 10-10. So it's the same, just a lot more because they didn't have a lot of. The no play action was 63% there at App State, so 10-10 he threw more, but they were both 1-1 in terms of their interception ratio. Screen pass TDs, 2 for Nico, none for Agalar. All right, so you don't see much in this in terms of what they ask him to do. It is a little different. I mean, in terms of, I've heard people say, well, it's tempo, it's the same thing. No, it's not the same thing. It's different routes. Yeah. It's different concepts a little bit. We'll see how much that adjusts. Does he make Agalar throw more screens in this offense? I would assume so. Everybody else has thrown those outside quick screens. Thoughts?
What this does is it confirms to me what I've heard about Joey Aguilar is the fact that what he sees pre-snap from the defense and what they change to after the snap, that sometimes he has a bad time reading defenses when he's on the other side of the ball. Yeah. That's what that shows me is we don't need to run play action. Here's what we're showing you. Ball a snap. Let's see if you pick up what we just changed. And he throws into a no-no way.
That's just what I was going to say. I mean, that 10-10, I mean, that goes back to what I said earlier. Not that I know, but those numbers point to you have a problem with what you're seeing, and do you understand what you're seeing?
The exact quote I was told
do you miss something is this part of it. He gets the ball up fast, like super fast, and if you miss something, you're in trouble. Or they show blitz dropping a coverage. Yeah. You're in trouble on that one. There is the, again, like, I got 6 or 8 games of it. He threw an interception on, they're doing the out and dig combo on one side. He tries to throw the out. He doesn't have the arm for it. You know what I mean? He just can't get the ball fast enough. And he gets picked off. You know what I mean?
You know, don't leave the receivers out of this. Yeah. Because maybe some of those, he saw the right thing.
Or the guy ran a deeper route than his
receiver didn't do the route correctly. So it might not all be on him.
Well, you had the same thing with Nico, though. That goes the other way, too. I've seen there have been some good pass breakdowns. There were some good video breakdowns on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And if we had the rights to the video, we'd do it. I don't know how some other people have the rights, but God bless them. They haven't been sued yet. But there are times where you're sitting there and you're looking and everybody talks about, well, Nico couldn't process. And then you see the all-22. It's like, what's he supposed to throw to?
Yeah.
There's no one else. It's 3 guys running deep routes. What's he supposed to do here? So the receivers are a part of this, and we don't see that in the numbers.
The first thing that jumped out to me was I wondered how much they actually did the play action. So how much of a sample size was that? Then you look at the touchdown and interception, the numbers are there. So they did it some to where at least there's a sample size. Another thing is the play action may not work as well at App State Because they didn't have a Dylan Sampson to be the running threat. So that could have impacted them from a play action standpoint.
All right, let's look at the last chart, and hopefully I won't stumble through this one, because this one was the main one. This is their depth of target numbers, okay? So what you see here is that's 12 different zones for each guy, all right, where they threw. So the closest one, those are passes behind the line of scrimmage, okay? Then you got 0 to 10, left, right, center, 10 to 20, left, right, center, and then beyond 20 yards, okay, is the downfield stuff. The stars is where the quarterback had a 100 or higher quarterback rating. That's an NFL quarterback rating, but still for our purposes, what it shows you is Nico had 5 of those zones where he was over 100. Joey Agalar only had 3. However, look at those 2 orange stars. Deep right, deep left. If you needed to make up something in this offense, is that not it?
Yes.
Is that not what you've been missing? Now, we'll see what happens with the receivers. You can see their deep target numbers down below, 32% completions for Nico, 36. And we saw Nico, so we know a lot of those were drops as well. Now, he had some overthrows, no question, but a lot of drops as well. In terms of TDs to interceptions, about the same. But I do look at those deep outside numbers, and that gets back to, is his arm strong enough to make the throw? You know, that's 20, not 50, but still, that would look to me to be, if you're sitting there saying, I don't know if these are positives on these other charts, to me that looks like a positive because that's kind of what you need in this offense.
But one of the things he does in those deep throws, if you watch him, he throws the ball up and lets a guy make a play. And that's something I thought Nico never would do. And I don't know if he didn't process it fast enough,
or
he
risk
didn't
averse,
trust, or risk averse, or whatever it might be. Aguilar will, and I thought in this offense it ran the best I've ever seen it with Dylan Gabriel. And that's something Dylan Gabriel did, is he put the ball up, let a guy make a play for him. And I think Chris Brazel's he's built for that. Brew McCoy was built for that. But Nico never did it. And part of that might have been, hey, we run the football, we win with defense, don't make a mistake. But I think Joey Aguilar, he's going to make mistakes. There's also the sheer amount of more volume of passes he threw is incredible. But it does show you that Nico had his places where he felt more comfortable throwing the ball, in places
in terms
deep
of
right where he did not.
In terms of, let me grab your numbers here. In terms of those deep targets, 77 of those passes, 20 yards or more, 50 for Nico.
Yeah.
So two to almost another half on top of that.
This is a perfect segment to sum up because I read comment sections. People will text our show. What does Ivans mean by dangerous Joey Aguilar? He keeps saying that. They kept referring to that both in a positive and a negative. You already saw the negative side, what he'll do with the clean pocket, but then you see these numbers, him going deep. In a second, he can snap his finger and you're back on the board, punch for punch, like the Bama game. Yeah. You score a touchdown, we can throw a touchdown too. It's just, it is very much that yin and yang, oil and water with Joey Aguilar. I've been told the only thing that not only, but the top thing he needs is his pre-snap reading of the defense. If he can clean that up, then maybe with Heupel's system, we'll see a significant drop back on those interceptions and turnovers.
It's the volume of throws down the field, the 20 plus as you outlined, 77 to 50. The yards, over 1,000 yards, 1,033 to 630 for Nico. So those are big time numbers. Those are cashing in with 6. And then another thing.
What you've missed in this those deep balls of 30 yards or more have gone away. You went from 40 down to 18?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing that we've talked about the deep ball, and that is absolutely necessary to get back in this offense. But if you look at the volume up the middle of the field, there were not enough attempts in the middle of the field. Every single one of those categories in the yard breakdowns, Aguilar had more attempts. There was either a trust factor or a willingness to throw. Yeah. So if they can have that added to the offense while not multiplying and adding a bunch of turnovers, then that can help this offense a lot too.
Wrap it, Bob.
If you go back and look at Nico last year, when he threw an interception, it was normally to the middle of the field. So does that go to Nico's mindset, I don't want to throw here because that's where I have problems? Or does it go to the coach's mindset, don't throw there because that's where you have problems? And I wonder, my concerns, and we've talked about a little bit about, is Aguilar's problem reading the defense? Well, the one thing, and it's been brought up, this offense takes a lot of that out. That's some of the negatives you hear from people talking about players coming out of this offense. It's much simpler. So maybe that helps him greater than it would if you put him back into what he was running.